Have you ever felt like you're knocking on doors that just won't open? Like you're trying everything, but nothing seems to move forward? That can be frustrating. I get it. But what if I told you that God is already working behind the scenes, moving pieces in ways you can't even imagine? More often than not, divine intervention happens in subtle ways, and unexpected opportunities are already in front of us. We just need to learn how to recognize them. The truth is, God never leaves us without direction. He makes a way where there seems to be none, places the right people in our path, and leads us toward a greater purpose. But here's the key. These open doors don't always come the way we expect. Some opportunities arise through challenges. Others require a step of faith, and many are so subtle that we overlook them. Are you paying attention to the signs? In this video, we're going to uncover the clear signs that God is opening doors in your life, even if everything feels uncertain right now. So go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because here you'll learn how to recognize divine connections, strengthen your faith, and identify the opportunities God has prepared for you. And leave a comment right now. I trust in God's plans, to declare your faith and connect with this powerful message. Sometimes life feels like a room full of locked doors. Plans fall apart, opportunities disappear, and the road ahead seems like a dead end. But it's in those silent moments that God is working. He sees what we cannot, moves pieces behind the scenes, and when we least expect it, a door opens, one we never even considered. Unexpected opportunities don't just happen by chance. They happen because God has already prepared the way, long before we even thought about it. Think about those moments when everything seemed lost, and suddenly an answer came out of nowhere. A job that wasn't on your radar, financial help at just the right time, or an unexpected phone call that changed everything. That's not coincidence. That's divine intervention. When a door closes, it doesn't mean it's the end. It could just be a redirection towards something even greater. The key is to trust, even when you don't understand. The problem is that many people keep knocking on the wrong doors while ignoring the ones God is opening. It takes spiritual awareness to recognize when God is leading you in a different direction. Instead of insisting on something that no longer makes sense, it's better to ask, "Lord, where is the door you have opened for me?" And when that door is revealed, the next step is to trust God's plan, even if you can't see the whole path ahead. Trusting God when everything is going well is easy. The real challenge is holding on to that faith when nothing makes sense. Proverbs 3:5 teaches us not to rely on our own understanding because our vision is limited. God sees the bigger picture. He knows why certain doors close and why some paths seem blocked. Often He is protecting us from something we cannot see or preparing us for something far greater. Look at the story of Joseph, sold into slavery, wrongly imprisoned. Yet he never doubted God's purpose. In the end, he became the governor of Egypt and saved countless lives. If he had given up halfway through, he would have never seen the doors that God was going to open for him. And how often do we do the same? We want to understand everything before we trust, but the truth is, faith comes first, and understanding follows. The key is to learn to rest in God's perfect timing. When life feels stuck, instead of panicking, try something different. Pray, surrender, and trust. Read the Bible and study the stories of people who faced challenges and came out stronger. If God took care of them, He will take care of you too. And sometimes the sign that He is in control doesn't come in something big. It's in the small joys of everyday life, little reminders of His love. Many people expect God to speak through grand events, a spectacular miracle, a dramatic turnaround, but He also reveals Himself in the little things. A tough day can be softened by an unexpected hug, an encouraging message, or even a warm cup of coffee that feels like a comforting embrace. These small moments of joy aren't just coincidences. They are signs that God is present, taking care of every detail of our journey. Have you ever noticed how a simple smile can brighten your day, or how a song plays at just the right moment when you need to hear it most? That's how God works, subtle yet powerful. He uses everything from a breathtaking sunset to a casual conversation to remind us that we are not alone. The problem is that we're often so focused on waiting for big answers that we overlook His daily signs of love. Appreciating these moments is an act of faith. Gratitude for these small gifts opens our eyes to see even more open doors. Instead of just waiting for major divine interventions, start paying attention to the details. A heart that is tuned in to God's signs lives with less anxiety and more confidence. And often when we least expect it, it's in the most unexpected times that the greatest opportunities arise. Life has a way of surprising us. Many times, when everything seems to be at a standstill, God is working behind the scenes, opening doors that defy our logic. It's when someone loses a job that the opportunity to start a new business appears. It's in loneliness that a life-changing friendship begins. What looks like an ending may actually be the beginning of something far greater, but we have to be paying attention, because God doesn't shout, He whispers. Who hasn't been through a situation where it felt like everything was against them? Then, looking back, you realize that it was precisely that difficult season that led to a new opportunity. That's because God sees the future, while we can only see the present. He is never late and never early. He moves at the perfect time. The real question is, are we ready to recognize the opportunities when they come? To do that, we need to develop spiritual awareness. Instead of just asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what might God be trying to show me through this? Read inspiring stories, like the story of Ruth. She lost everything, but by trusting in God's plan, she found a new purpose. Divine opportunities often come disguised as challenges, and it is through those challenges that we experience the greatest spiritual growth. No one likes facing difficulties, but they are what shape us. God never wastes a challenge. Every obstacle He allows has a greater purpose. Think about the hardest moments in your life. Those were the times when you learned valuable lessons, strengthened your faith, and discovered inner strength you never knew you had. Spiritual growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens in the heat of the battle. David's story is a perfect example. Before he became king, he had to face the giant Goliath, flee from Saul, and endure years of trials. If he had given up at the first obstacle, he would have never fulfilled his calling. And how many times, when facing our own giants, do we feel like backing down? But it's in those moments that God strengthens us, teaches us to trust Him more, and prepares us for something greater. Challenges are invitations to grow. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Try shifting your perspective to, what does God want to teach me through this? Pray more, read the Word, seek testimonies of people who have overcome great trials. The answer may not come immediately, but one thing is certain: after the storm, there is always a new horizon, and often during that process, God places divine connections in our path to strengthen us even more. None of us walk this journey alone. God places the right people in our lives to open doors, bring answers, and guide us in the right direction. Have you ever noticed how, in crucial moments, someone appears with the right advice, an unexpected opportunity, or even a simple act of support? That's not a coincidence. It's a divine connection, an encounter planned by God long before we even knew we needed it. Moses had Aaron, Paul had Barnabas, and even Jesus surrounded himself with disciples to fulfill his mission. Divine connections are essential for our growth. Sometimes a single conversation can change the course of a life. The problem is that many people fail to recognize the value of those God places on their path and end up overlooking valuable opportunities. Being aware of these connections is key to making the most of the doors He opens. To do that, ask God for discernment. Pray for Him to bring the right people into your life and remove those who don't contribute to your purpose. Join Bible study groups, connect with people who share your faith, and be open to new friendships. Often the answer you're looking for won't come directly from heaven, but through someone God has sent your way. It's in this network of connections that divine intervention manifests, subtle yet powerful. Many people expect God to speak audibly or perform something extraordinary to prove His presence. But the truth is, He works in subtle ways and still transforms lives. An open door at just the right time, an encounter that seems random but turns out to be life-changing, a problem that resolves itself without any logical explanation. These are all signs of divine intervention. God is always working behind the scenes, moving pieces we can't even see. Take Esther's story, for example. She was just an ordinary young woman with no influence, yet she became a queen and was given the opportunity to save her people. At first glance, everything seemed like a coincidence, but when you look through spiritual eyes, you can see God's hand orchestrating every detail. The same happens in our lives. We often think certain situations are just normal events, but in reality, they are answers to prayers we may not even remember praying. The key is to look beyond the obvious. Instead of waiting for a big, unmistakable sign, start paying attention to the small confirmations around you. That friend who shows up with the right words, the opportunity that seems to appear out of nowhere, the unexpected protection from a situation that could have gone wrong, these are all ways God moves. And the more we develop this awareness, the easier it becomes to recognize that faith is the key to seeing the open doors that many people overlook. It all starts with faith. Those who trust in God see beyond their circumstances and recognize opportunities where others only see obstacles. Many times the doors are already open, but fear, insecurity, or a lack of vision prevent us from walking through them. Faith isn't just believing that God can act. It's being certain that He already is, even when nothing seems to be happening. Peter walked on water because he dared to take the first step. If he had waited for absolute certainty that he wouldn't sink, he would have never experienced that miracle. The same is true for the opportunities God places before us. Sometimes He has already prepared something incredible, but it's up to us to take that step of faith. Many people miss out on great blessings because they want to see first and believe later, when, in reality, God's process works the other way around. Developing this perspective takes practice. Start by exercising your faith in small decisions. Rather than fearing the future, surrender your plans to God and trust Him. Read biblical stories of people who move forward in faith, like Abraham and Joshua. And when a challenge arises, instead of running from it, ask yourself, could this be the door God wants me to walk through? Because in the end, it's those who dare to believe who experience the greatest transformations. Now that you understand how God opens unexpected doors, the question is, are you ready to walk through them? Too often, fear, doubt, or a lack of awareness keep us from taking the next step. But if there's one thing we've learned here, it's that God always moves at the right time. It's up to us to trust, recognize His signs, and step forward in faith. So what will you do from this moment on to see these opportunities more clearly? Maybe there's an open door right in front of you, and you just haven't noticed it yet. Think about it. Could that recent conversation, that unexpected invitation, or even that challenge you're facing be God's way of leading you to something greater? Take a moment to reflect and share in the comments. I believe God is opening doors in my life. Declare your faith and strengthen your connection to His divine intervention. If this message spoke to you, take the time to watch more videos on this channel and keep learning how to grow spiritually and trust in God's plans. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this message with someone who needs to hear it today, because when we share our faith, we open even more doors for God to move in our lives.